Okay, I'm David Schubert. I'm the sales director for Percipient, and we're here to talk about how artificial intelligence will transform your business in 2017. I'm going to start today, and as people join, they can pick up as we move on. But I want to give you a flavour of what we mean by artificial intelligence today, and we're going to talk about the partnership between Percipient and Squirro. To start with, we're just going to give you an overview about who Percipients are, because you may not know who we are. We're a business that was formed around a decade ago, well, over a decade ago, in 2003 by our current owner, Chris Stock, who's our MD, who specialised in Oracle solutions and taking those to market. We've now branched out into Sage and Squirro, and we're looking to develop a true data practice on how data is coming into organisations. And part of that, as we all know, is to have some type of cloud offering. We are based in the Northwest, and we're trying to grow out into the Northwest and the technology hub that is forming up here, to then take that to the rest of the UK and beyond. And to do that, we've partnered with a company called UK Fast to enable us to have a very powerful cloud-based solution. As another part of our business, we own another company called InfoLogic, who specialise in Info, and again, an ERP solution, again, adding more credibility to our data portfolio. So as we're moving forwards, we're trying to specialise in more leading edge technologies that will transform the way that yourselves, customers, are looking to promote your solutions and products to your customers, so you get a better return on your investment from technology to what you can deliver and take that to market as quickly as possible. So we're trying to become, and we are becoming, a specialised unit which is focused on building a very long-term relationship with our customers as they go through the different stages of transformation on what you need to be doing around your data. We're headquartered in Cheshire, and currently we're around about 36 people across our group. To give you an idea of Squirro and one of the main reasons why we've partnered with Squirro, they are a Swiss-based company with global ambitions and located in 5 international locations. And Squirro's showing at the moment more than 100% growth per annum, and has around 15 plus years experience in search, analytics, and enterprise software. So at the core, and what does Squirro actually do? They deliver actionable insights based on your existing data. And how they do that is with a cognitive catalyst and trend detection engine. So what does this mean? For example, what Forrester is saying about Squirro, and why should we all be taking note, is their investment in artificial intelligence was triple as firms look to tap into complex systems, advanced analytics, and machine learning technology. So we're talking around artificial intelligence here, but as we know, this is one of the terms that means many things to many people. So let's have a look at how we define this in actual some context. And if we look again at what Forrester is saying, vendors that are already embedding components of cognitive computing capabilities into their solutions are people like Adobe, Google, IBM, Passado, Salesforce, and Squirro, and these are the companies that are going to prosper moving forwards as we all start to look at what we can do with meaningful data that we're all holding on to, and that sits outside of our company as well. So companies like Squirro are going to prosper because they're already embedding the cognitive computing capabilities into their solution. So what we want to do is look at a little bit more into that in the up and coming slides. But what I want to do is just tell you why you would want to talk to Squirro and Percipient as a partnership. So we believe we're offering a trusted AI, artificial intelligence solution, and embedding and implementing expertise that we can take to market from medium to large enterprise environments. We share a united customer-first set of values. We are both focused on making sure we listen to you as customers and what you want to be able to achieve to make sure we adhere to what you're trying to do and deliver that as quickly as possible. And if we can't, we're not interested in wasting anybody's time. We want to make sure that we are being very precise on understanding where you sit, and that is a common value between our two companies and one of the main reasons why we've chosen to partner together. We have a lot of experience within our companies on delivering data value and process efficiency for intermediate and long-term commercial results. We all know now that if your ROIs when you want projects signing off have to be very, very quick, but also show that year-on-year value generation. No longer does it have to be, you know, a 10-month or 12-month ROI and people forget about it. We know that our customers are asking, okay, where are we now 2 years, 3 years in this project? So what we do is we develop a parallel development track to real-world customer requirements. So that's where we sit. So what I'd like to do now is hand over to my colleague Marcus at Squirro so we can tell you a bit more about cognitive computing.
Thank you, David, for this introduction. For the next minutes, I'll now talk to you about topics touching on data, 2 Squirro use cases with their specific benefits attached to it, and afterwards I will give you a short demo of the product. During the introduction, we saw that Forrester mentioned Squirro using cognitive computing capabilities. And what is this, and what does cognitive computing actually do? And like we heard, many people will have many opinions about this. However, here is what Squirro does with it. Simply put, we simulate human thought processes in a computerized model. And that adds a competitive edge to your sales and marketing organization. We also heard about actionable insights, and if we look into the industry and what the analysts actually say, we see there's agreement on the topic of insights. Deloitte, for example, defines the term insight economy for the year 2020 onwards. And while we are now somewhere around the phase of the Internet of Things, kind of between cognitive analytics and machine learning, we see the whole economy being insight-driven by 2020, where actually digital transformation will be fully adopted and ramped up. So the topic of digitalization will then be at full force. And meanwhile, Forrester emphasizes about the same topic, that insights-driven businesses are built and operate differently. This will be the killer differentiator for businesses in the coming years. And basically all aspects of your business will be optimized by some type of insights process, impacting the culture, the processes and the talent, the teams, and of course the technology in your company. Now, having seen that there is and will be a substantial shift towards an insights-driven industry, the question that comes to mind is, where are all those insights? And actually, that's a very good question. So let me share some facts and considerations with you, which help to understand what it means to be driven by data. 95% of all available data is so-called dark data, or you could also say hidden data. I think to make it a bit of a better picture, think of the tip of an iceberg where the massive chunk is underwater and you can't see it. So 95% of all available data is kind of underwater, so to say. And on top of that, 80% of all data that there is unstructured, which means it is not machine readable by default, and therefore it is difficult to access, difficult to analyze, and very difficult to act upon. Now, having learned about the 95 and the 80%, what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is that really only 5% of all the data is used for decision making. And that is a very unfortunate statistic. And the good news is, this is exactly where Squirro, from a technological perspective, makes all the difference here. When we take a more specific glance into for example, sales and marketing, think of all the information that is generated every single day across different platforms within numerous different business applications, information that can help you make faster, better decisions. If only, that's the point, you could access it. But not all of it, but just the most relevant and valuable and meaningful parts to help you with your particular challenge. So whether the data is internal, like on your CRM or in your email server, or external, like on social media or a news feed, Squirrel can automatically connect the dots, so you only see what's truly relevant to the particular customer or campaign or service ticket, and many other contexts are possible here. So in a data-driven sales and marketing world, you would have a unified view that is always up to date with the latest and most relevant pieces of information that you need at a certain point in time. And not only that, but even exactly where you need the information to be. We always say the insights will come to you without you doing anything manually. It's basically search without searching. And let Squirrel tell you which customers you should contact today, or what sort of event might impact their interest, and be sure to recommend your best solutions to your prospects, leads, and customers. When solving sales and marketing challenges with a data-driven solution, then we at Squirrel, we call that customer insights. Very simply, reduce search and research time and leave no potential insight from any resource behind. Make faster and more educated decisions to identify new opportunities and understand your competitors better. And always be ahead with real-time insights and therefore transform the way how you engage with your clients. Now, having looked at the sales and marketing world for a bit, let's also look at IT service management for a short time. Typically, this is an area where landfills of really different data exist, and all of it is hiding information of how to best solve various types of problems. The same thing applies here, really. Think of all the information that is generated every single day across all these different ITSM platforms within numerous different applications that contribute to it, and channels that feed information that is relevant, and so forth. The information that can help you make faster, better decisions is there, but simply not in the most relevant, valuable, and meaningful way to help you with a particular challenge at hand. Downtimes take too long, or it's too difficult and tedious to find the root cause, and generally being reactive instead of proactive is what causes struggle in the first place. Now, think through the eyes of a data-driven solution again. Connecting and analyzing and correlating your ticketing system, for example, or your configuration management database, or hooking up your knowledge management tools that there might be, or individual files that individuals are maintaining on their team drive or locally, log files of all the infrastructure that is of relevance, or problem definitions of past cases that were experienced. Change management is quite relevant in this space. Not only the change content, but also think about the difference between the content of a change and the actual activity, which then would be the infrastructure activity, and many more things. And all these will provide a very powerful unified view into a complex IT service management landscape. That means unknown problems can be mitigated much faster, known types of problems and root causes will immediately be proposed as potential solutions to an acute problem at hand. And generally, your business can be transformed from being reactive to being proactive by spotting potential emerging issues and problems ahead of time, so that a P3 or P4 case doesn't become a priority 1 case, or that a problem doesn't even become a problem in the first place, because by knowing how to mitigate things, you can even totally prevent that. And again, Squirrel calls their IT service management data-driven solution service insights. So we looked at customer insights, and now we looked at service insights. And the reduction of incident resolution time by 30%, and automated problem clustering and risk scoring, as well as the prediction of trends which is based on anomaly detection. You get all these benefits through real-time service insights. And at this point, I would like to jump over to my browser and show you a very brief demo of the Squirrel product. Not specific to any of these use cases. There will be further webinars specifically to any of these, or you can also refer to already existing and recorded ones if you want to reach out to us about this. But I'm keen to show you the basic standalone functionality of the product, so that you get a glimpse of how this works, and that how to see where the power lies and how that could be abstracted to be applied into various different use cases. So what you see here is the Squirrel standalone version, and Squirrel features a number of UI access possibilities. There are dashboards, there are this more admin type of standalone interface, and there's also the possibility to integrate into third-party applications via API or our dashboards. What I'm going to show you here today is a sample project that features a significant number of news and some documents like PDFs and Word documents, etc. And we can see that there is an overall number of 107,000 documents in this project. There is a timeline that shows me when was the highest occurrence of new articles over time. And what I also have is, if I open this facets bar here, I get a presentation of all the metadata that is included or owned by this data that we're looking at. So now we have masses of news articles. They are all unstructured because they are mostly text, and we have some binary documents in there, and amongst all of that we have a set of metadata that allows me to navigate and drill through this data simply by selecting these facets. For example, if I want to look at data that only that definitely has China in it, I can filter down, and 107,000 become 7,000 because all the others do not mention the country China. Then if I want to go into cities, I want to say, okay, Chicago as well. So now I have 132 articles talking about Chicago and China. And then I could go further and say, give me industry that talks about banks only. Go on. And so forth. So this is what we call faceted search. And where do these facets come from? These facets, you can also say keywords or tags, classifiers, or metadata. There's a long list of synonyms for this. They do come from text analysis. And if we tap into any kind of data, we do use existing metadata as well and use them as facets to make data navigable. But Squirrel can analyze text in various formats, and that really depends on your context and what text data do you have, what is out there that needs to be analyzed to become usable. What does it mean? If there are large bodies of text in your system, like, think about these 95% of dark data or the 80% of generally all unstructured data, it's difficult for you to use other than keyword search, and that is often not really available. So by analyzing those for certain topics, categories, or like entities, like cities, or your products, or your product information, or some people's names, lists, and things. So this can be done there, and will then create correlations, because now I can see that China, Chicago industry, banks still in some sense do relate to the region of the Midwest, because there's a mention of all of that. So this is really the underlying goal of Squirrel, to create structure from unstructured data so that you can navigate through and become that this becomes easier for you to make sense of. And based on that metadata, we can also build dashboards, which I will show you in a second. Now, this is faceted search. If I remove that, And I would simply say, let's look for SAP. Then I can use that in a normal keyword type fashion that you're probably used to from Google and maybe Bing. So then the system will highlight my match and give me all the results that do talk about SAP. Of course, whatever selection I make, it will always drive the down selection of the metadata as well. So I get these instant insights immediately what is still included in my down selection. Now, if I say micro, for example, it will give me an automatic type ahead of available metadata that is available. So I typed micro and it said, okay, there's Microsoft as a company and all the others that have the MICR in it as well. But I will go for Microsoft now. So I get 905 articles that do talk about the company Microsoft. And if I would want to exclude, for example, it's Pragma, I would say, and not Pragma, then I would use the binary operators to be more specific with my query. Now, that's one thing, type ahead. And another thing is, what if I would be interested in a whole topic, not only one entity? For example, topic compliance. Everyone has, in some sense, to deal with compliance regulations, particularly the larger corporations. So if I can do the low-hanging fruit, and I can simply say compliance. Now I get all the articles that mention the word compliance. But first of all, it's way too many, 4,000. I can't deal with that. What I would need to do now is to specify more things about compliance manually myself. But I have no clue about compliance. What can I do? In this case, just removing that, I would go to Wikipedia and search for compliance. And it presents me a variety of different versions of compliance, and not interested in medicine, etc. I want to read about regulatory compliance, and quickly glancing at the article, I see a generic description up here, and then more country specific. So let's stick with the generic one. I copy the text, go back to my project, paste the text. And this could be a complete PDF or email or whatever you have to do the same thing. So now Squirrel statistically calculates language independent the most important terms that define the topic of regulatory compliance based on my input text. And now I see that I get 688 results, and it's a lot better than 4,000. And I could say, explain to me why are these relevant. And so I get a lot of highlights here, and I get a tabular view that says in the body of the article I have these terms matching the concept of regulatory compliance. But I also have unmatching, which is fine, because not always I need to mention everything about a topic to capture relevant things. Imagine you're sitting on the tube in London and you want to talk about a certain bank, and it's best practice in London not to say the names of your clients or your employers loud, so that people who sit next to you might not hear anything about it. And that means you will talk with your colleague about a certain bank, for example, but you will not mention the name, but you still make sure that there's enough context that your colleague understands what you're talking about. And usually, sorry, this works quite well. And this is also a way how the smart filters can be used. You want to capture matches that are not necessarily specifying regulatory compliance, but the broader concept of it. So in this case, you can also have a graphic view where the whole word cloud is represented in a bubble cloud, and the bigger the bubble, the higher the occurrence of the term in the result set. Now you can also say, show me this by relevance. So this is then about the concept, or by date, or by other conditions that you might have. And then you could simply go on and say micro again, and it will look, is there anything that matches MICR that I typed in in the results of those 688 results. And yes, there are 4 entities, 4 types of metadata available. And if I go into Microsoft, I quickly have a very relevant result set here that gives me 2 things: information about regulatory compliance and information about Microsoft. Now, bringing this together reveals very relevant, specific insights that I have in my data without me doing a lot of manual work, which I otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to, and wouldn't know how to do it, because, as I said, I'm, for example, no expert on compliance. Now, if I go back to the facets and see that the list has shortened, because in those 13 results, there's not all of the metadata available, but only that which is contained. And for example, sources, I can see that I'm looking at 9 news articles, 3 Microsoft Word articles, and 1 PowerPoint. If I select the Word one, I will drill down into these 3 articles only, and I can then consume these this PDF right here. You see, it gets the highlighting in the original doc or PowerPoint or whatever binary document you have, gets the highlighting done here, so you have an easy time consuming it. And that's very powerful. And imagine what you can do with this. You can, for example, in a service environment, you can create such concepts automatically based on a machine learning mechanism, which learns by the input of a certain behavior or updating of a topic or a theme. For example, if I would be a service agent and I would be closing tickets every day, I would every day be feeding my activity trail, so to say, into that concept, and then there would be a concept about me. And if the next day new tickets are coming in, the system could automatically compare the available profiles with the problem, the fingerprint of the incoming ticket, and then automatically identify the best match of my employees or of my service agents. Just, you can really think out of the box how to apply this, but this is the underlying secret sauce of Squirrel, the concept search, and this applied in many different ways. Now, removing this, I will show you one other aspect of the solution, and I will go to dashboard. As I said in the beginning before, that there are various dashboards that you can build, and this one is a example dashboard that is just built, I would say, randomly or quickly based on some of the metadata. For example, the metadata that is M&A activity or industries, top management changes. I have my results here. I have significant terms here, etc. I can slice the time and so forth. And I can now say, look for example, to go into the hotel business here, look for Marriott International, and everything drills down into Marriott-related relevancy. So I have 113 out of 107,000, and I see that there's M&A activity that features Marriott, 22 of them. The industry, obviously, hotels, etc., gets mentioned a lot. Airlines also usually do tap into the area of traveling and tourism. Marriott International has top management changes. There's something regulatory going on in Moxie hotels, and obviously Marriott is specifically mentioned among the results that I have here. Now, this way, it's very easy to build a view into your data that makes a lot of sense for different groups of viewers or consumers. So imagine these dashboards being built the way that people need to consume them. So this is manual usage. But imagine these dashboards are integrated in your Salesforce CRM, in your ServiceNow solution, in your BMC Remedy, or in your whatever enterprise application you might have. This could be implemented and would automatically be reacting to the context that you select. So if you want to know more about this, watch out for more webinars to come, or refer back to our existing ones already. And with this, I want to go back to my presentation. Having seen this short demo with sample news data, now what about you? When it comes to your data, the so-called 80-20 rule should no longer apply. What does that mean, 80-20 rule? Typically, a company makes 80% of its revenue with 20% of its customer base. But that's nonsense. It does say that you know 20% of your customers well enough to be relevant to them with your offerings and products, and that's why they generate 80% of your revenue. So the bottom line actually is 80% of your customers are forced to take their business somewhere else. Now, why is that? Why is that the case? There is a misconception, a widespread misconception in the market. Most companies think that big data is about storing data. But if you don't use that data after you store it, you may as well go for the old way and say delete, purge it. This way, you still get your 80% of revenue and don't have to worry about all your data. But of course, don't do that, please. Rather, look at the new rule. Let your data automatically work for you. And with Squiro's Cognitive Insights engine, you turn your meaningless data into actionable insights. Data gets analyzed, trends can be predicted, and anomalies shown, and actions get automated in the end. Listen to Mark Vollenweider, the founder and CEO of Evaluative, who recently published a book about machine learning. And after looking at 25 artificial intelligence engines, he said Squiro was the only one that brought benefit. Now that's very good news. And with this, I will hand back to David now.
Thank you, Marcus. I forgot to mention at the beginning, everybody, sorry, around questions. There is a questions tab on the control panel that you could ask questions. But as a follow-up, please do ask us any questions at Percipient, but also we'll send our details out, and we'll also send the presentation out where there is a link that you can click on to get more insight into Squiro, the solution, and what some of the current customers are saying and the value they're getting from this solution. You'll also get our details, or please go onto our website and register interest, and we can follow up and have conversations with you. But I'd like to say a massive thank you for everybody joining. Hopefully you've got some insight from today, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.